Good morning. Now I'm going to explain the project titled An Integrated Resource Negotiation, Pricing and QoS Adaptation Framework for Multimedia Applications. Abstract. This project concentrates on pricing networks service dynamically based on the level of service, usage and congestion, allows the network resource to be used more effectively. We integrate the proposed service-dependent pricing scheme with dynamic pricing and service negotiation environment. This increases network resource utilization and avoid high call blocking rate. Users are able to maintain stable expenditure, and allowing user to migrate between services classes in response to price increase further stabilizes the individual service prices. So if a user is at low tariff, he cannot able to download a file in a greater speed. So in this project we have implemented that the service can be produced to the client dynamically when the service is required for the client. System specification: hardware requirement, processor Pentium 4, speed 1.8 GHz, RAM 512 MB, hard disk 80 GB, keyboard, monitor, mouse. Software requirement: Windows XP or 2000. So here in this project we have 4 modules: client, congestion management, dynamic speed allocation, domain service. This is the block diagram representing the project. The client request a file to the server through ISP service provider. So it will check whether the file is in the database. If it is there in the database, it will provide the file. Here the client request, first the client should be authenticated. So after he enters the username and password and after he logs in, we'll check with the database whether the user is an authenticated user. If yes, then he can request the file. The receiver requests the receive the file and place it in the queue. Then it will read the type of request, and the request will be sent to the corresponding domain. So the server received the request from the ISP. Here it will check whether file requested is available or not. If yes, the user can upload the file. If no, then the no response will be received. Here we are checking whether the file is available. If yes, then we are splitting the file and store it to the corresponding places. If no, then we will respond to the client that the file required is not available. So here we'll provide the object user speed send port file transfer. So here if the file is available, then we are going to store the requested file in the container, and the file should be in the splitted format. So here we are going to check whether the file is available and the scheme for each user. If the user is at low tariff, then we'll give a pop-up message to choose a different scheme. So here we'll get the response. The client can respond whether is going to use the existing tariff or he's going to upgrade the tariff. If according to the response of the client, we're going to change the speed to the user on that time. So let's say a user is at speed of 256 kbps and he wants to download a file at a greater speed. So at that time the service provider will give a pop-up message to choose a larger tariff. So at that time the user can go for upgrading the tariff or he can use the existing tariff. According to the speed he is selecting, he has to pay according to the tariff he is selecting. And his information will be maintained in the database. Now I'm going to explain the description, the module description for client. Client is referred to as the basic user who is in need of any information from internet. So client can request a file or anything from the internet. As if like normal login procedures, a user is provided with user login and password to connect with the local LAN like dial-up connection. So to connect to the network, first of all the client should be authenticated. Then he can request the file and receive the response. So these process is mentioned in the client side. Now let's see authentication. During the login procedures, the DB component verifies for the user login and password is legal from the database maintained by the server. So during the authentication process, the entered username and password will be verified with the username and password available in the database. And once the user is authenticated, he can log in to the server. File request. Client enters any websites in search of any information, will be verified by the local domain service host to check whether particular information is available or not and send response to client requested information has availability or not in local domain service. So the client can request any file from the web server. So he'll here we are going to check with the local domain service whether the file is available or not and appropriately sending the response to the client. Received response. The client gets the respective result from domain service and allowed to perform further actions like downloading of files and options to proceed other operation. So the client will receive response whether the file is available or not. If available, he can download the file. If not, he has to wait. Condition management. In this management system, we maintain certain steps to control modules in the dynamic speed allocation process and for utilities of the local server action to be performed as per normal way connection of LANs. Dynamic speed allocation. This is the process where our tariff changes takes place and other processes which are required for splitting of files into containers and other operations are being performed here. Scheme change and allocation of split files in containers are being used for future verification and development process. So in this dynamic speed allocation, the tariff or the scheme will be changed and the splitter files will be placed in the containers that can be used for future verification. Domain service or server. Domain service refers to the local server which helps in connection of LAN and performance of other process of providing the requested website results to the client to perform downloading options if needed in future. ISP service providers. There are some local service providers specifies different tariff limits and the price limits as like a plan scheme. So let's say we have service providers like Airtel, BSNL, Tata Indicom, Sify, Reliance, and the normal tariff provided by these service providers are 256 kbps. Monthly rental would be 500 rupees. 2 Mbps and the monthly rental would be 700 rupees. 8 Mbps and the monthly rental would be 15,000 rupees. So in the existing system we have some drawbacks when the client selects or subscribes for low tariff. To satisfy the user, high tariff can be proposed, but it consists of complex procedure to convert the tariff. In low tariff, the user may have to wait for 1 month or 2 weeks to download a file. By following low tariff procedure will take more time, will lose their motivation. So in the existing process, if a user subscribes for low tariff and if he likes to download a file at a greater speed, then he cannot. He has to wait for 1 month or 2 weeks to download that file. So changing the schemes in the existing system is not possible. So this process takes huge time difference to download. In some low tariff, and time consumption is wasted for downloading huge data from internet, which generates lengthy traffic, which slows system performance and will also affect power consumption. Human resource utilization is wasted in a vast manner. So person who is at a low tariff, when he likes to download a file of greater size, then he cannot prompt for high tariff in the existing system. So in that case, time consumption is wasted and he has to wait for a long time to download the file, and the system performance and the power consumption will affect greater. Drawbacks for high tariff. There is a need of complex procedures to convert the tariff, and as a result there occurs a lengthy traffic generation so that server cannot provide a proper result to the clients. Example, checking the mail, unnecessary traffic is generated. Then an important note, whether client is using internet or not, high rental is to be paid to the respective ISP providers, so there is a loss of money and time of the users. Proposed system has user-friendly tariff. In our proposed system, any client who can be in any plan or downloading speed provided by ISP providers, all clients can use this system in request to download huge files. At that time, service provider will pop up a message to client to select whether he would go for high tariff for downloading a huge file. So if the user clicks OK in the pop-up menu, then the user tariff will be changed, and if he clicks cancel, then the existing tariff limit will be provided by the ISP provider. So 256 kbps plan given by ISP provider can be changed to higher downloading speed according to the client requirement. So in this way, the user who is at low tariff can dynamically change to high tariff when he likes to download a file of greater size. In this way, his human resource is not wasted and power consumption will be reduced. Human resources will be utilized in a efficient way, and the system resources will be used effectively. That's all about the project explanation. Thank you and have a nice day.